The grand hall was silent, so silent you could hear a pin drop. All I could see were the 88 keys in front of me, a sea of black and white that held my entire future. My name is Leo, and for as long as I can remember, this was the dream, the National Conservatory. Not just a school, but a legend. And I was here, sitting at the grand piano on the main stage, about to play for the most respected judges in the country. My hands were slick with sweat, and my heart was hammering against my ribs like it wanted to break free. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. This wasn't just about playing notes correctly. It was about telling a story. My story. The piece I chose was one I'd written myself. A composition I poured my soul into. I called it Echoes of a Dream. It was about my grandmother. She was the one who first sat me down at an old, out-of-tune upright piano in her living room. Her fingers, though wrinkled and frail, danced over the keys with a grace I'd never seen before. She taught me that music wasn't just sound. It was feeling. It was memory. It was love. She passed away a year ago, just before I got the letter inviting me to this audition. Her last words to me were, "Leo, make the world hear your music. Let it echo." And now, here I was, about to do just that. I looked out into the shadowy abyss of the auditorium, imagining her sitting in the front row, a proud smile on her face. The thought gave me a sliver of strength. I placed my fingers on the keys. The touch was cool, solid. I closed my eyes and began to play. The opening notes were soft, hesitant, like a memory trying to surface. They represented the early days, the fumbling attempts to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, while my grandmother patiently guided my small hands. The melodies slowly built, gaining confidence, mirroring the years of practice, the endless hours spent wrestling with scales and arpeggios, the frustration and the small victories. Then, the music swelled into the main theme. This part was about joy, the pure, unadulterated joy of creating something beautiful. It was the feeling of losing myself in the music, of the world outside the piano melting away. The chords were rich and full, the tempo quickening, a whirlwind of emotion. I played with everything I had, my body swaying with the rhythm, my fingers flying across the keyboard. I poured all the sunny afternoons spent in my grandmother's living room, the smell of her baking cookies, and the sound of her laughter into those notes. But every story has its conflict, and so did mine. The music shifted, becoming dissonant and chaotic. This was the doubt, the fear, the voices that told me I wasn't good enough. The missed notes in practice, the competitions I'd lost, the moments I wanted to give up and slam the piano lid shut forever. The keys felt heavier under my fingers. The melody, a tangled mess of anxiety. This was the part of the journey no one sees: the struggle, the tears, the feeling of being utterly alone in a room full of sound. I remembered the nights I'd practice until my fingers were raw, wondering if any of it would ever be worth it. Then, a single, clear note rang out, cutting through the chaos. It was a simple, quiet note, but it held so much power. It was the memory of my grandmother's hand on my shoulder, her voice whispering, "Don't you dare stop. Leo, you have a gift." The music softened again, transforming the earlier theme of doubt into one of resilience. The melody was slower now, more thoughtful. It was about acceptance, about understanding that the struggle was part of the story, that the sour notes made the sweet ones even sweeter. I was no longer just playing a piece. I was living it. Each phrase was a breath, each chord a heartbeat. The music spoke of love and loss, of hope and despair. It was the story of a boy who found his voice, not in words, but in melodies. It was my tribute to the woman who gave me the world through 88 keys. As I approached the finale, the music became a powerful crescendo. It was a declaration. It was me, standing tall, no longer the scared boy, but a musician ready to share his soul. The notes soared, filling every corner of the vast hall, a powerful wave of sound and emotion. It was no longer just my story. It was a universal story of chasing a dream, of honoring those who believe in us. The final chords were strong, resonant, and they hung in the air, echoing long after my fingers had lifted from the keys. The silence that followed was even more profound than the one before. It was thick with unspoken emotion. I slowly opened my eyes, my chest heaving, tears blurring my vision. The faces of the judges were no longer stern and intimidating. They were just listening. One of them, an elderly woman with kind eyes, had a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. I didn't know then if I had passed the audition. I didn't know if I'd be accepted into the conservatory. But in that moment, it didn't matter. I had done what my grandmother asked. I had made them hear my music. I had let my dream echo in that grand hall. And as I stood up to take a bow, I felt her presence with me, not just as a memory, but as the music itself, a permanent part of my soul. I had played my heart out, and for the first time, I felt truly free. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more. The silence stays. It doesn't rush away. It doesn't break. And it doesn't feel awkward or empty. It feels like the whole room is holding its breath. The performer sits perfectly still on the piano bench, hands resting gently on the keys. Their fingers don't move. Their head stays slightly lowered, as if looking inward, searching for something. That silence feels heavy, but not in a bad way. It feels full of emotion, full of something waiting to happen. The lights above slowly soften, and a warm white light spreads across the stage. It's no longer harsh. It's almost gentle, almost kind. The audience is completely quiet. A judge shifts in their chair, the small sound echoing clearly in the silent room. Another judge takes a slow, deep breath, their chest rising and falling. The performer lifts their hands again, slowly and carefully. The song isn't over. The next piano note comes in, stronger this time, clearer, more sure of itself. It doesn't rush. It doesn't shout. It simply arrives. The voice follows right after. Still simple, still honest, but now something has changed. There's belief in it. Not a loud, proud belief, but a quiet, steady one. The words speak of falling down, of getting back up when no one is watching, of staying quiet when the world feels too loud, and waiting, just waiting for someone to finally notice. The piano's melody grows deeper, the sound feeling fuller now. It's not fast or dramatic, just real. The performer's back slowly straightens, their shoulders relax, and their breathing becomes steady. They are no longer just singing notes. They are standing in their own truth. The audience listens without moving. Eyes are fixed on the stage. No one is on their phone. No heads turn away. Some faces show surprise, with eyebrows slightly lifted and eyes widening. Other faces show understanding, with soft nods and quiet recognition. A judge leans forward, elbows on the table, hands clasped together. They are no longer judging. They are listening. The song reaches a part about choosing hope. Not because life suddenly became easy, or because the pain magically disappeared, but because giving up felt so much worse than trying one more time. The voice rises, not shouting, not forcing its way out, just opening up. The sound fills the space without pushing. The room feels smaller now, not tight or crowded, but closer, as if everyone is sharing the exact same moment. Slowly, the performer looks up. This time, they don't look at the floor or the piano. They look toward the judges, not asking for approval, not begging for a chance, just sharing their story. One judge's eyes shine under the lights. They blink slowly, trying to stay composed. The piano slows again, the notes stretching out, each one given space to breathe. The song softens. The words now speak of walking alone, of empty paths and quiet nights, but they also speak of not feeling alone anymore, of learning that silence doesn't always mean rejection, and that even quiet voices truly matter. The performer's hands move gently across the keys, with soft touches and careful movements, almost like saying goodbye to something heavy they've carried for too long. The final chorus begins. It isn't bigger or louder. It's braver. The voice carries across the room, clear and steady. Every single word lands. No one looks away. No one even blinks. The final note stretches out into the air. It lingers, it holds, and then it fades Hawaii. The performer lifts their hands off the keys, and the sound disappears completely. Silence returns. But this silence is different. It feels warm, it feels earned. For one long second, nothing happens. No clapping, no cheering. Just stillness. Then Someone in the crowd stands up. Slowly, quietly. Then another person stands. And another, applause, begins to rise. Not screaming or wild, but deep, strong, and real. More people get to their feet, row by row. The clapping grows louder. The performer remains seated for a moment, frozen, as if they're not sure this moment belongs to them, as if they're afraid it might disappear. They stand up slowly. Their hands are shaking, fingers trembling. Their eyes widen as they look out at the sea of faces. The applause continues. A judge stands, then another, and then another. Soon, all the judges are on their feet, clapping. The performer covers their mouth with one hand, a breath catching in their chest. They give a slight bow, not a perfect or planned one, just a natural, grateful one. The applause doesn't stop. One judge finally speaks. They say the song felt honest. They say it felt lived. They say it felt needed. Another judge speaks next, and their words are simple. That was brave. The performer just listens. Tears begin to fall. Not dramatic, loud sobs, just quiet tears rolling down their cheeks. They wipe their face with the back of their hand and nod slowly. They try to speak, but no words come out. The host steps in gently, their voice calm and tone soft, and asks how the performer feels. They take a moment, a deep breath in, and then out. Then they answer softly. They say they almost didn't come tonight. They say that fear almost won, that doubt told them to just stay home, but they are so glad they didn't listen. The audience cheers again. The judges are smiling, not polite, forced smiles, but real ones. A vote is called. One yes, then another, yes, after yes, after yes. The final answer is clear. The performer is moving forward. More applause fills the room. More people stand. The performer looks around slowly, taking it all in. The lights, the crowd, the judges. This place that once felt so cold and intimidating now feels alive with warmth. They walk off the stage slowly, not rushing, not hiding. Backstage, the lights are dimmer, the walls are gray, and the air is quieter. A soft hum of voices fills the space. The performer leans against a wall, closes their eyes, and breathes deeply. For the first time, they smile to themselves, not because they won, but because they were heard. The stage fades behind them, but the song stays, not just in the room, not just on the stage, but in the people and in the silence that finally turned into truth. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing for more moments like this.